Hello, I'm back. I am Bandito. You probably don't know me. If you have been before, welcome back. And if you haven't, which you probably haven't, it's great to talk to you. So, I've been back and forth with this YouTube journey, but I've always wanted to get back into it, and I always try to be consistent, and then I never am. But you know what? Things are changing, and I want to do this like for real this time. So, I've thought a lot about because people say you need to have a niche and whatever, and I've done extensive research on this topic, but I don't know that I'll ever have like one niche really, but I think what I'm going to kind of lean toward is being an arts connoisseur and maybe doing like reviews of things that I love, especially theater, concerts, music, movies, that kind of stuff. Maybe find a way to do each of those things in its own individual way. Maybe talk about travel and the art that I consume when I travel. And so to start off, I decided I would talk a little bit about a show I saw on Friday, which was Stranger Things: The First Shadow. Trying to get the glare out. So I actually had seen this play in London, and one thing you'll learn about me is that I'm a big Broadway nerd. I have been since I was a little kid. I still make an effort to see shows. I'm currently living in New York City. I actually went on a huge London trip last year. I went to the Eras Tour, went to a bunch of shows, and I saw Stranger Things in London. And I just kind of want to share some first thoughts on it. Obviously, I've seen it before, so it's not first thoughts in terms of experiencing the story for the first time, but I guess I could talk a little bit about both experiences. And I guess to start off, when I went to London and I saw the play, it was one of my most anticipated things I was planning to see. And I got a rush ticket there, which a lot of the shows there do rush digitally through Today Tix. Some shows do that here too, but less do that here. I got front row when I was there, and the stage was kind of tall, but I got to see mostly everything. Like nothing was really too obstructed. I was looking up, and my neck hurt after it, but the things we do, it was really nice to be really close though, because there's some pretty immersive elements, and I felt like I really did get like that front row seat to the action, and it was honestly amazing. It was at the time, it was really truly, I think, like the best thing I've ever seen, just in terms of like immersiveness, in terms of story. Like I really gravitated towards the story, and I really loved what they did with the characters and how they expanded upon some themes that they've already touched on in the series. And I remember I called my mom afterward, and I just was like freaking out because I could not believe what I'd seen. Like the special effects are insane. The one thing is though, I did find it hard to see the opening sequence from where I was. I've been anxiously waiting to see it again and I've waited a really long time, and I'm actually really broke right now, but my mom is helping me out a bit, and she helped me and bought me a ticket to see it on Broadway. So I went and I rushed in the morning, which, if you don't know what rush is, it's usually just a way to get cheap tickets. You go when the box office opens, so that's usually 10 a.m. for most Broadway shows during weekdays, and then 12 p.m. on Sundays. And a lot of them have it now, which is great. So Stranger Things is $40 for Rush, and I got there I think around like 8:45, and there's only like two people in front of me, so super easy. Box office opened at 10. Went inside, got my ticket, and it was kind of like towards the left side of the mezzanine, toward the middle, which that seat is probably worth over $100, and I paid $40 for it. So great price, full view, close enough that I could still see their faces pretty well. Honestly, one of the best rush seats I've ever gotten, and especially for this show, it's great to have a full view. And as I did in London, sit in the front row, like that was cool. But like I said, I missed the opening sequence, so it was cool to get the full opening sequence for the Broadway version. And it is a pretty spectacular opening sequence. The show was largely the same. There were a few sequences that were quite different. Obviously, I could tell that like some of the dialogue was switched up a bit, but largely it's the same. And there are a lot of differences otherwise that are that I don't necessarily want to get into right now because I don't want to spoil anything, but I think I will make a breakdown of all the differences at some point. So the main thing I would say was like it just has a different energy for sure. I definitely felt like this one was a bit, I guess, lighter. It was a bit glitzier, glammier, which is expected for Broadway. There's a crazy, probably one of the craziest things I've ever seen on a stage in the Broadway version that's not in the London version. There's an idea of the same thing in the London version, just executed differently and still amazing. Like I would say my experiences between London and Broadway were pretty equal. I have no complaints with either of them, and I loved both of them. It's a prequel to the Stranger Things TV show, so it follows the parents while they're in high school, as well as the Creel family from season 4. So Victor Creel, Henry Creel, etc., etc. The person who plays Henry Creel, his name is I forget his name. I think it's either Lewis or Louis. Lewis McCartney. He's really incredible. He's an amazing actor. I fully believe that he'll win an award or two for this performance. He should have won the Olivier. I don't even think he was nominated, which is just crazy to me because I think he's giving Macbeth in this performance for real. He keeps the energy alive for sure, transferring it from London. He really is the star of this show, and even though this is a completely different cast, completely different dynamic, he still keeps everything together and cohesive. I feel like his performance really does bleed out into all of the other actors on the stage, and I feel like everyone feeds off of the energy, feeds off the energy of the audience. And that's the other thing that was really interesting was audiences are very different between London and Broadway. London is a bit more, I wouldn't say they're quieter. I think it's just they take things in differently. So, especially because this is a play, I would say they weren't as loud during parts of the show, more so like towards the end of each act. And when they do like applaud and when the bows happen, like they are very rowdy and they give a lot to the performers to know that the audience liked it, you know? So with Broadway, I would say people tend to be more vivacious during scenes and stuff. Not necessarily like while people are talking, but just if there's like a big flashy sequence. There's one part where a character says the United States government can go to hell, and everyone, I don't know about everyone, but a lot of people, including myself, were cheering at that part, which made me very happy. Yeah, I would say it was just cool to hear people's reactions. I think with some of the more like the horror elements and the more intense things that happened during the show, I heard gasps, like very audible gasps, like people like, and that was super fun to witness. People didn't gasp like that in London. I think a lot of the people in London kind of knew it was quite dark. But yeah, it was wonderful, and just to hear people's reactions was amazing. And there's some interactive bits, and I really like how those are executed. And I think it, you know, there's room for laughter, there's room for really intense reactions, like I said. And I feel like this material does like draw you in really well. I think it's really well written. You know, some people might argue against that, but I think it is personally coming from, you know, being a fan of the TV show and this having the task of living up to that with, frankly, just like not as interesting of characters in a lot of ways. But I think it manages to make them more interesting, even if it does kind of veer away from like what the TV show establishes. But I don't think it's enough to like to make you feel like you're not still in that world and like you don't still like know these characters. I think they still very much feel like the characters we know and love. I guess my overall feeling that this show leaves me with, the both times that I've seen it, is I just feel really seen by it. I think it's very hard to create an adaptation of anything, honestly, and, you know, please everybody. And I don't know that this will please everybody, but I think it will please a lot of people. I think going into this play on Broadway is has been so much different than seeing anything else I've seen recently, because I feel like everybody's going in to have a good time. I feel like all of the actors are doing a great job. There's not really too much to critique in terms of that. And so it's very easy to kind of just lose yourself in it and just like fall in love with the experience and with the actors and just everything about it, and just fall in love with what the Duffer Brothers have created and the writers who have worked on this, what they've created, and just like remember why we love this world. Or even if you aren't someone who's watched the TV show, I think there's so much to witness from this and just be amazed by. And I'm excited to share it with other people. When I go to a lot of other shows, people are very negative, like going into things. They're ready to hate them. They're ready to not have a good time, or they're like, I'm setting my expectations low so I can't have a good time. And I think that's all good and fine. Like everyone's entitled to their opinion, and there hasn't been anything that I've been like super crazy about that I've seen recently. But I always go in and I always have a great time. I always want to enjoy my night. It's very rare that I'm like offended by something that I'm watching. It gets to be a little annoying being in rooms like that. So to be in this room where everybody's just having the time of their life, everybody's just like excited and just like in awe, and you just like feel that energy. It's really amazing and it's really unique. I do think that people who feel seen by the show and the way that it kind of champions people who feel othered, especially with like the character of Eleven, and kind of her being a little weird, and also just like the cycles of abuse that she's experienced. I think that this show really takes all of those themes a step further and really kind of shines a light on those aspects, and it definitely has a lot more depth and brings a lot more depth and context to what we've already experienced in the TV show. It just really excites me. Like I said, it excites me for season 5, but it also it just makes me glad to be a fan of this, because how I mentioned, like there's a line in the show that says the United States government can go to hell. Like to say that on a Broadway stage is kind of just insane right now. It's wonderful that they've included that, and it's wonderful that they're using this, even if it's not to a crazy extent, but even to like a little bit of an extent, to shine a light on, hey, so we know that like our government kind of does like shady shit sometimes, and that's a part of like why we created this world and the message that we're trying to put out into the world. Like I said, I just felt very seen by that. Like it's a hard time right now for a lot of us, especially being of kind of like the nerddom culture, the geekdom culture. I don't know how people phrase that. I would say I'm pretty far into that sphere of the world. It's nice to have joy in that. It's nice to feel seen in that. It's nice to have characters that are relatable, something that is so very clearly dedicated to that group of people in a way where they're not trying to be cheap about it in any way. Like, yeah, of course they have Netflix money, but Netflix and the producers and everything could easily be like, well, we want you to create this play, but we want it to be like the cheap version. And this isn't that. This is the not just the expensive version, but it's the expansive version. It's pushing the boundaries of what immersive theater is. It's pushing the boundaries of what's on Broadway. It's pushing the boundaries of what this material is capable of reaching in terms of theme and in terms of audience. And I think that this is a phenomenal adaptation. I think it might be one of the best, if not the best, adaptation of a movie or TV show that I've seen on a stage. If you don't have interest in seeing this play, I think you might want to change your mind, even just to see some cool shit on a stage. Like, you don't have to buy into every aspect of it, but just to like see and witness masters of their craft creating something to this volume is just pretty fucking cool. So I think everybody should see it. I think there's something in it for everybody. But yeah, I guess that's my little My little first thoughts on Stranger Things, The First Shadow. If you enjoyed my little chit chat, I hope you'll consider liking this video and maybe even subscribing so you can see my pretty face some more. And if you don't, I'm gonna think I'm not pretty, and we don't want that, do we? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not manipulative like that. Manipulative? I can't even say words. I've missed YouTube a lot, even though it terrifies me. But